Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Clyde's Guides. We're looking at power level is 530,000 for Dragon Ball Fighter Z, where you simply have to get your power level to 530,000 in the ranked match system that they have set up in the game. You fight and gain points upon wins, and you lose points with losses. So every fight tends to matter. The best thing you can do is to just slowly increase your game. This guide is a series of videos wherein I try to show stepping stone points for so anyone of any skill level can jump into the episode that seems most relatable to them. In the last episode, we talked about my base level when I first started the game and was playing like utter garbage against even the computer, and what I tried to do to make my game a little stronger. And so in this video, you'll see a lot more of me showcasing the bread and butter combos that I was talking about in the first video that I needed to learn, wherein you start with down medium into a standing medium, jump light, medium, light, down heavy, and then follow through with the launcher for a regular standard air combo. Don't really do it perfectly yet. This is still something I'm learning at this stage in the game. This is when I first started really pushing and decided, I really want to play this game. I knew I wanted this trophy, so I just started pushing as hard as I could to get as good as I could at the game to easily make my way up there. Playing fighting games, I think, can be some of the hardest platinum trophies to unlock because of the insistence on going into these matches and adhering to a certain level of excellence, and it can be very difficult for players who don't really want to dedicate that much time to these games. But I think that's what makes these platinums so much worthwhile, much more worthwhile. I finally hit the 5 million mark recently, and I'm working on the 20 million Zenny, just the most outrageous grind in the universe, which I will keep complaining about. But just need to put some time in on that. So here was this guy Radiant. I have a we go best of five, and I think this guy was a lot better than me, and I think it really showcases some of my weaknesses at this point, even though I am starting to utilize the things that I spoke about last episode. So we come in here, and this guy was yellow, and again I'm still white at this point. I don't even have my rank, and this isn't some second account. This is me just stepping into the pool here to see what I can do. My initial team here is Trunks Gohan with Super Saiyan Vegeta in the back, but for some reason Super Saiyan Vegeta is not supposed to be my anchor. I prefer Gohan, obviously. My my girlfriend was asking before, like as I was watching these videos for the first time, she was like, don't you remember what happened? And it was like, do you know how long ago this was? I have no idea. This was back in April, just for a frame of reference. And every little fight, no, absolutely not. So going into this, I had to look at my character to see kind of what he was thinking. It's kind of fun to interpret your own fights from way back when. But anyhow, as you see here, my defense still is garbage. I have no answer for sweeps sometimes even. And I don't really understand at this point that you can't really push buttons when you're falling backwards. So Trunks got taken out pretty quickly, and Gohan just kind of wrecks on Vegeta. Because like I said, every time Gohan shows up, I immediately pull him out. So I have to assume that, and every time it goes all the way to sparking with Gohan at the end, and I don't even try to save anyone else. Which was another good point to bring up is blue meter management. At this point, you need, if you're having real trouble and you don't think meter management matters and you just play your characters 1, 2, 3, that is incorrect. You need to start pushing yourself to switch out characters early on, be a little bit more flexible. Like right now, my team, I mean, I would definitely say Gohan should have been the point of this team, with probably Vegeta as the anchor and Trunks as the middle character, and a lot of switching back and forth between Gohan and Trunks until Vegeta has to come out. But at that point, any of those characters can really sub in except for Gohan. I don't think Gohan really has a good anchor setup, but like my team currently of Gohan as point, Vegeta as Super Saiyan Vegeta as my middle, and Tien as my anchor is really flexible because I can put Vegeta in as that anchor. So at the end of the day, once it's just Vegeta and Tien, I use both of them sparingly to try to keep Gohan alive, and then once Gohan goes, the two of them become their own little mini team, and I can use them very well, and they both switch back and forth for their roles. Both Vegeta and Tien can be the anchor or a really good assist or a really good point character in this little two-man team, so it makes for a secondary team that suddenly has different dynamics, which can throw people off once they take out your Gohan. But this team right now, and especially my knowledge of this team, left me very weak in terms of knowing exactly what I should be doing against these guys. But here, he just barely whiffed his little attack, so I was pretty happy about that. Even back when I really, really sucked, I had some potential in me, you know. I stayed it out. And if I'm not mistaken, in this first fight, it actually kind of pays off, and I end up beating this guy who absolutely should have obliterated me, and all this is just little, lucky little shots that really had no skill involved in them. And so really, I would say the biggest thing that needs to be worked on at this point, and the biggest thing that I was watching in these videos, that it was like, what are you doing? Even though, yes, so I pulled the first win here, but let's be real, it wasn't totally deserved. It was more of a luck of the draw sort of situation. Once we start in here, it becomes very apparent, because from now on, these fights are him just kind of stomping mud holes in me with his Teen Gohan, who is really crazy upon reflecting on this. But the big two things that I would say that I don't know how to do, that I need to at this point, this character me, is I need to be vanishing and I need to be super dashing, although not too much. But the fact is, I don't use those two or the Dragon Rush options. Those are the three big things that I'm not doing right now, besides the very glaring obvious fact that I'm not using assists. When I first started the game, I wasn't very comfortable with that, and I see a lot of people online who just don't use their assists. So while this is something that will be talked about in a later episode, assists are very, very important, and I'll talk about what you need to do and how you need to train yourself to be able to use those properly. But for now, we're going to talk more about the Vanish for the knockback, and then the Vanish altogether just to extend combos, which is really important, as well as DHCing into other hyper combos, like right there. Even though I missed the attack, the fact of the matter is, switching out for Vegeta, switching out with Vegeta and Gohan like that was a solid move if, you know, executed poorly. So you need to be a lot more flexible with tagging people in and out, and you don't want to use raw tags, so you want to start focusing on things like guard cancels and DHCs to keep your characters safely switching in and out. As well as there's like one or two, like I believe the air auto combo, or using like a Vanish I've started doing in combo, and then holding down your assist button will let your character switch in and continue your combo, as long as you're aware of what's going to happen when they come out. So there are much better ways to do it. You don't want to just start raw tagging, and you don't want to DHC off of blocked hyper combos unless it's going to set you up a little safer. But the fact of the matter is, most of the characters level 1s won't make you that much safer and can be punished. So you want to be careful about just throwing them out there, and especially spending 2 bars on a punishable tag. Still, you know, like you're almost just as good using the regular tag at that point. So you definitely, another idea, if you're not that comfortable with it, is once you're using assists, is to, while you have 3 people, is to use one of your assists defensively while you summon out the other assists, so they can't just down heavy you because they're blocking, say, Tien's beam or Goku's Kamehameha or whatever it is you have, you know, Android 16's blast, and as they're taking the block damage from that, have your other character come in safely so they can't just straight up down heavy you, and then just be ready for whatever that wake up will be as your character lands. But here we have him just completely crushing my team again. That Teen Gohan corner pressure is pretty ridiculous, and I mean, it would be a little bit of a hassle now, but back then I had no clue what I was doing. During every segment of this video, every time you try to learn a new trick with whatever point you jump into the series, you absolutely want to also have in the back of your head to be focusing on your defense. Don't be afraid to block. Learning to reflect is even better, but we'll definitely cover that later on. But for early on, just the fact of the matter is blocking is so important. And learning when to block and when to attack sounds so basic, but there's so much that goes into it, and you need to think about it all the time. Is it okay for me to attack, or should I be blocking? And if I'm blocking, how and what am I blocking? You know, just as simple as it sounds, the down block and the standing block makes such a big difference. You need to worry about if people are going to be crossing up and jumping over your head and kicking you in the back of the head. So in which case you need to be blocking forward basically at that point. And there's all kinds of little nuances. And is it safe to jump? Usually, not 100% of the time. Your animation when you start to jump seems to leave you without being able to block for that moment. So trying to jump in the middle of a block string isn't always a great idea because they can sometimes, with a quick enough attack, just power through it. You want to just kind of spend some matches where you're not afraid, like, go into casual and don't be afraid of losing a few, and just go in there with that idea of I'm just going to block for this fight, like I'm going to take my time and I'm going to wait until after I block something to attack, and I'm not going to rush in with some mad charge and attack that they're going to somehow get away from and then start hurting me. I'm going to let them come at me, I'm going to block whatever they bring at me, I'm going to learn to read what they're attacking with, and then I'm going to counter appropriately. And spending a couple of matches doing that online where your ranked numbers aren't at stake is really a good idea. Or, if you have a friend that you play with locally, spend some time playing against him and take some match, or her, I'm sorry, or her, that's rude. But take your friend and play some matches, as many as you can, and learn. Spend a few of those rounds, that are just for fun, blocking as much as possible. Learning, have them play as characters that you hate, and spend some time having them hit you with block strings that you have to block. It sounds so basic and so simple, but it will bring such a high yield for like your increase in gameplay and your longevity in the game, combined especially with blue bar management and then safely getting your characters in and out and having them defend, gives you so much more time each round for you to try to figure out how to beat people and have to do as much, even if it's just random damage, that will start stacking up if your characters aren't taking that much because they're switching out and healing and they're blocking and they're coming out safely. It is so important to start utilizing that and not to just constantly be throwing out your crazy over, like with Trunks right there. I just constantly throw myself out there with that little Shining Slash, and it's like, be ready to block afterwards when you take that hit. When they get away from it, you need to be ready for not just them to block your attacks, but to dodge, to vanish over, to kick you right in your stupid face, just like he did to me right there. And you have to be ready and think about not just. Actually, a good example that's just so depressingly unfortunate right there. Sorry, I'm watching the video as I'm talking, but you hear people, if you've ever taken an acting class or you've ever even seen something where people are talking about acting classes or acting lessons, one of the first things they'll tell you is that acting is so much more than just waiting for your turn to talk. When the other person is saying his lines or her lines, all right, I'm good. We're progressive, is that you want to be, during their turn, you want to be listening. You need to be reacting and listening to what the other person is saying instead of just stand there, playing your line over and over in your head. I have to ask for pie. I have to ask for pie. No, you have to listen to what the person is saying before you ask for the pie. I work at a pie shop. I don't want to talk about it. But it's that is a really good parallel for this. It's, if you think about it in the set of turns, when you're doing your block string or your attack or your pressure, they can't just be sitting there thinking, okay, I'm gonna wake up in Kamehameha, I'm gonna wake up in Kamehameha, because I did, and this dude jumped right out of it and came at me, and it almost cost me this match right here, and it's stupid. You definitely want to spend the time that you're blocking and the time that you're getting attacked in general watching what the other person does, even in neutral. Like if they do something that doesn't connect, look at what it, like right there, he did his little Gohan fly kick attack murder move. Well, that matters, and so that's something you have to look out for. So paying attention to that instead of just, when can I do my Shining Slash? No, when they're attacking, look at what they're doing. And absolutely wait for your opportunity, but know it because you already have your attack move in your muscle memory perfected. You're not thinking, okay, I need to do heavy into this. No, like, you know what to do when someone messes up. So watch what they're, get to that point where you know exactly how to attack someone who comes at you with a certain way. Oh, this guy's super dashing at me, I'm going to down heavy him in the face. And have that memorized, just like I said, if you have a friend or if you're playing the computer, every time the computer super dashes, down heavy. Play matches where it doesn't even matter, where you're just down heavy. Every time the the person wants to do super dash down heavy, and get that to where it's just in your head, where you're not even thinking about that anymore, so that when that happens, you're cool, and then you can watch them and see when they do these super dashes, or when they come at you with, whatever kind of combo have you. Oh, this is when he does this and this. This is a little opening, or this is where he messes up. So I know what to do at this point instead of just blindly guessing or just blindly trying to do your favorite combo. That combined with the defense in general will start giving you a much better percentage of wins online, and that'll start getting you more battle points whenever you do go back into fighting in these ranked matches. But those are just some really good pointers that you need to start working on. As I said, you take those ideas and just bring them into local matches, into regular arcade mode matches, or in casual matches if you're okay with your color being at stake. But definitely don't bring this kind of experimental attitude into ranked matches, because you will lose points, and no one likes to lose points. Wait until you feel like you've gotten a very good grasp on it and you're beating the people that you're getting paired with on casual, and then go back into online ranked and see if it works a little better for you, because you might surprise yourself. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of work to get to that point, but every once in a while you'll see a jump in your skill level, and you'll realize that you can start doing things without thinking about them too much, be ready to deflect certain attacks, but again, that's something we'll talk about much later on. For now, you just want to work on being an aggressive blocker, someone who knows to stop and take the blocking attacks that people are throwing out, because people throw out all these long normal chains. The normals really aren't doing much in the sense of chip damage. I mean, some people will mix in beams and stuff and they'll do a little bit, but at the end of the day, taking a little bit of chip damage and then having a chance to punish, or at least be in an advantageous situation, is so much more valuable than the little bit of chip damage that your opponent does. So don't be afraid, especially if you know, like right here is it's like one super dash or one vanish really would have stopped this Android 21. So if I had been a little bit more comfortable with vanishing, and I had been paying attention to what she was doing as opposed to what I was doing, I would have definitely done that a lot better. Anyhow, this has been Clyde Cadell, and once again, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you get some kind of use out of this, and if this is a little too weak, we'll see you next video. Thanks a lot.